Picture this. You wake up on a Monday morning, check your bank account like you do every single week, and the number staring back at you is almost exactly what it was last month, maybe even a little less. You work hard, you show up, you tell yourself things will get better, but somehow, no matter what you do, the gap between where you are and where you want to be never seems to close. And the most unsettling part, you have no idea why. Here's the truth that nobody warns you about when you're growing up. It is rarely about how much money you make. Across the world, there are people earning modest salaries quietly building real wealth, and there are people on six-figure incomes who cannot cover a single unexpected bill without going into a panic. The difference between those two groups is not luck, not talent, and not the economy. It comes down to a small set of daily habits that most people never examine closely enough to change. Research published by Bankrate found that more than 1 in 3 workers across the United States describes themselves as living paycheck to paycheck, meaning that after all their expenses are covered, almost nothing is left over. And PNC Bank's 2025 Financial Wellness Report puts that number even higher, at 67% of full-time workers. 67%. That means if you lined up 10 people in a room right now, roughly 7 of them would tell you they are one bad week away from a real financial crisis, and most of them have no idea they're doing anything wrong. That is exactly what this video is about. Today, we're going to walk through 7 specific money habits, not theories, not complicated financial jargon, but actual daily behaviors that are silently draining the wealth of ordinary people everywhere. Some of these will feel deeply familiar. Some of them might even make you pause and say quietly that you have been doing this your whole life without realizing it. But more importantly, for every single habit we expose, we're going to give you the exact alternative, the shift in thinking and behavior that actually changes the outcome. Because here's what nobody tells you about building wealth. It does not begin at the bank. It does not begin with an investment account or a side hustle or a lucky break. It begins right here, in the quiet, invisible decisions you make every single day without even noticing. By the time this video is over, you'll see your money differently. And that, more than anything else, is where the journey to financial freedom actually starts. Habit number 1, spending money before you save it. This single behavior is responsible for more financial stagnation than almost anything else, and yet it is so deeply wired into the way most of us operate that it barely registers as a problem. A typical pattern looks like this. You get paid, you pay your bills, you spend on whatever feels necessary or enjoyable, and then, if there's anything left over at the end of the month, you tell yourself you'll save it. But there's almost never anything left over, because money without a destination always finds somewhere to go. The fix is not complex. It's called paying yourself first, and the wealthiest people in the world have used this principle for decades. Before a single bill is paid, before a single purchase is made, a percentage of your income is automatically moved into a savings or investment account the moment it arrives. It doesn't matter if it starts at 5% or 10%. What matters is the automation. Greg McBride, Chief Financial Analyst at Bankrate, puts it plainly. If you wait until the end of the month to save what's left over, too often there's nothing left over. The solution is to remove the decision entirely. Your future self does not negotiate with your present feelings. Habit number 2, buying things to manage emotions. This one is harder to spot because it doesn't feel like a financial problem at first. It feels like comfort. It feels like reward. You had a rough day, so you treat yourself. You got good news, so you celebrate. You feel bored on a Thursday evening, and suddenly you're scrolling through an online store telling yourself you deserve it. Research by Clever Real Estate found that approximately 84% of Americans admit to justifying unnecessary purchases with phrases like, "I deserve this," or "I will treat myself." And nearly half say they've bought things specifically to cope with stress or negative emotions. The brutal reality is that emotional spending doesn't solve the emotion. The relief lasts only as long as the newness does. And then the bill arrives and the original stress is still there, now joined by a fresh layer of financial anxiety. The fix is not to eliminate all enjoyment from your spending. It's to create what financial educators call a conscious spending plan, a deliberate structure where fun and reward are built in, funded, and capped. When reward spending has a boundary, it stops being a leak. It becomes a choice, and choices you make consciously cannot ambush you at the end of the month. These first two habits are more connected than they might appear. Both are rooted in the same core problem: money without intention. When your income arrives without a plan attached to it, the default mode takes over. And the default mode, shaped by years of advertising, social pressure, and emotional patterns, almost never leads to wealth. The moment you decide that every pound or dollar you earn has a job to do before it arrives, that's the moment the relationship between you and your money begins to change fundamentally. Habit number 3, carrying high-interest debt and treating it as normal. In a world where credit is available instantly on your phone, in your wallet, at every checkout page across the internet, debt has quietly become the default setting for managing shortfalls. And the financial industry has become extraordinarily skilled at making this feel reasonable. 0% for the first year, buy now, pay later, just the minimum payment due. These phrases are designed to shrink the psychological weight of what's actually happening, which is that your future income is being spent before it exists at a significant cost. Consider this figure. If you carry a $2,000 balance on a credit card charging 15% annual interest and you pay only the minimum each month, you'll end up paying over $1,000 in interest alone before the balance is cleared. More than half the original amount, gone entirely to interest. And that $1,000 is money that could have been sitting in an investment account, quietly growing for you instead. Bankrate data shows that over a third of American households currently have more credit card debt than emergency savings, the highest level recorded since polling on this question began. Debt has stopped being an emergency for most people. It has become a lifestyle, and that's exactly the problem. Habit number 4, ignoring the slow drain of lifestyle inflation. This is perhaps the most invisible of all, because it doesn't feel like a mistake when it's happening. It feels like progress. You get a promotion, you move into a nicer place, you upgrade the car, you eat out a little more often. Each individual decision seems entirely reasonable. You worked hard, you earned more, you deserve better. But when every increase in income is immediately absorbed by an increase in spending, your financial position doesn't actually improve. The number in your bank account grows, but the gap between your income and your expenses stays exactly the same. Bank of America economists studying paycheck-to-paycheck living in 2025 found something remarkable. Nearly 19% of higher-income households, people earning well above the national average, are still living paycheck to paycheck, and their analysis pointed directly at lifestyle creep as a leading driver. You bought a house, you bought a couple of cars, and before you know it, all your money is going out to bills. Wealth is not built by earning more. It's built by consistently keeping the gap between what you earn and what you spend wide enough to do something meaningful with. Every time a raise arrives, the question that separates those who build wealth from those who do not is simple. How much of this increase is going to my future, and how much is going to my lifestyle? Habit number 5, having no emergency fund. This one carries a weight that most people don't fully appreciate until the moment they need it and it's not there. The Federal Reserve's most recent household financial report found that only 63% of adults could cover a $400 emergency expense entirely from savings without needing to borrow. That means more than 1 in 3 people is one car breakdown, one unexpected bill, one medical visit away from a situation that pulls them directly into debt. And Bankrate's 2026 Emergency Savings Report showed that just 47% of Americans say they have enough savings to cover a $1,000 emergency. $1,000. For nearly half the country, that's already a crisis. Habit number 6, not investing or waiting until you feel ready. There's a quiet story that millions of people tell themselves every single year. They say they'll start investing when they have more money, when things are more stable, when they understand it better, when the timing feels right. And every year that passes without action is a year of compound growth that can never be recovered. The U.S. personal savings rate currently sits at around 4.5% of income, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, a figure that financial educators consistently describe as far too low to build meaningful long-term wealth. Meanwhile, a standard index fund tracking broad market performance has historically grown at an average of around 7 to 10% annually over long periods. That gap between the interest your cash earns doing nothing and the growth it can achieve when put to work is where
Habit number 7, making financial decisions in isolation without a plan. This final habit ties all the others together. The majority of people who struggle financially are not struggling because they lack ambition or intelligence. They are struggling because they are making hundreds of small money decisions every single week with no overarching structure to anchor those decisions to. A 2023 NerdWallet survey found that roughly 1 in 4 people does not maintain any kind of budget, and among those who do, 84% admit to regularly breaking it. Not because they are undisciplined, but because a budget without a compelling reason attached to it has no emotional gravity. It is just a list of restrictions. What actually works is not a budget built on guilt. It is a financial plan built around a vision, a clear, specific picture of what your life looks like when your money is working the way it should. So what does the alternative actually look like in practice? It looks like this. You automate a percentage of every payment you receive directly into a savings account before it ever reaches your spending account. You build a lean emergency fund, even if it starts at just 1 month of essential expenses, so that life's surprises stop becoming financial disasters. You make a firm, time-bound plan to clear your highest interest debt, treating it with the same urgency you would give a leaking roof. You create a simple monthly allocation, not a punishing budget, but a deliberate one, where your spending, saving, and investing each have a defined amount, and you hold that structure steady month after month, adjusting only when your income genuinely changes. These are not dramatic gestures. They are quiet, consistent habits, and they compound over time in exactly the same way that the destructive habits do, except in the direction of freedom instead of constraint. The most important thing to understand after everything we have covered today is this. The 7 habits we walked through are not character flaws. They are not signs that you are bad with money or that wealth is meant for other people. They are patterns, deeply human, deeply understandable patterns that were never openly challenged because for most of us, no one ever sat down and showed us the lens through which financially free people actually see the world. Seeing through that lens is not complicated, but it does require the willingness to look honestly at the habits you carry and to make a quiet, firm decision to replace them, one at a time, starting today. If this video gave you even one thing you were going to do differently this week, share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Wealth Lens so you do not miss what is coming next, because in our upcoming videos, we are going inside the specific strategies that ordinary people are using right now to break the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, start investing on any income, and begin building the kind of financial life that actually feels like freedom. The next video might be the one that changes everything for you. We'll see you there.